Hello, good morning everyone, and today is a brand new day to learn something about science. So, welcome to Science 1113 for grade 8. And again, remember the numbers 1113, it means that this is our course number. So, every time you answer an exam or you write our subject, always remember to put there the course 1113. It means that you are taking the Cambridge Science grade 8 and the course number is 1113. So if you're listening right now on this YouTube video or in this video, kindly uh, be on a appropriate place, on a conducive place, silent, so that you can listen carefully and you can pause the video right now so that you can get your pen and you can do the note taking. All right, so we're gonna start with our topic for science. So all you need to have are your pen and notes and a one piece of A4 paper for note taking. All right. So before we start with our topic, you are taking a lot of exams and tests since grade 1 until you're grade 8. So tell me, which type of test or exam you think is challenging for you? So give a short explanation for that and let me know about your comment on the comment section below or on the discussion, or you can send a message on me using your ADL or on the Zoom messages. So multiple choice, short answer, matching type, fill in the blank, essay, performance, true or false, observation project. Which one of these is challenging for you? Or if you have other things in mind, you can suggest other things and just let me know about it. Alright, so in the test or in the exam, most especially for Science 113, we are using what we call command words. So our topic for today is all about command words, which is used in science. So where do we use command words? So at the end of the session, the students should be able to be familiar with different command words used in science and as well as use the command words in answering the test or exam. So take note of this. We will be using the command words from our test, worksheets, or quizzes that I will be giving to you in ADL or the one which you can see in the workbook. Alright, so you will be using this knowledge when you go to IG or when you go to IB. That's Cambridge Science 1113. Are you ready? So let's take a look with what is a command word. So command words are the words and phrases used in exams and other assessment tests to tell students how they should answer the question. So what are these words? So command words can tell you to design, annotate, explain, analyze, discuss, apply, state, comment, construct, and a lot of things. So what do this mean? So for example, I'm gonna show you here questions, and you need to determine what kind of command words is being used here. So remember, when you say command words, it tells you how are you going to answer the question. Alright, so here is our first command word. So I want you to take a look with the question there. It says diffusion and osmosis. Define diffusion and osmosis. So look at the definition here of the diffusion and look at the definition of osmosis. So definition, what does it mean? Very good job. It means to give the precise meaning of a word, phrase, or physical quantity. That means you don't need to explain anything. Just give the point, precise meaning of a word. When you say precise, it's on point. That's the only thing which you need to give. So definitions have component, and this will help you the explanation. So just define it. For example, here, diffusion is the passive movement of particles from region of high concentration to lower concentration. So the one which is underlined are the keywords which you need to learn or somehow need to memorize when you are defining diffusion. Alright, so our first command word is define, or the definition. Here is the second word. Look at that. Look at this one. A labeled graph showing a typical sigmoidal population growth curve. Sigmoidal population growth curve. So We represent something by pencil line, and what do we call that? Simply, it's draw. So when we draw something, these are the following tips that you need to remember. First, it needs to be clear, dark pencil lines with no colors, and pay attention to whether it needs to be labeled or annotated. Annotated means that you need to write something on it, and you need to make up drawings, graph, and diagrams on your revision books and test with each other. So here is an example of drawing. Make sure that you use a sharp pencil, your outline is clear, and the drawing should be as large as the space provided. It needs to occupy the entire space, and it has definite outlines, no sketchy lines, no shading, no arrowheads when labeling, just a line just like this, and the line points exactly to the labeled part. So any of the thing which you do not follow here, that will be marked as wrong, or you will be deducted from the final or with a total mark. So remember these tips on drawing. Next here is, look at this one. This is a cell, and you need to identify the size of its nucleus. So we need to find the value for quantity, and what is this? Exactly, we call this as measure. So when you need to measure, you need to bring your ruler. It will tell you if you need to or not, and you need to have your units on it. So one example of that is this one, okay? But in this one, look at this. The magnification of the image of the bacteriophage. Bacteriophage is a kind of virus, by the way, that eats cells or eat bacteria. So look at this one. So when we find a numerical answer by showing the relevant stages of working or the solution, we call this one now as calculate. So how do we calculate? First is you need to have your formula. You need to have your given, but in this case, there's no formula. But most of the time, especially speed, density, we have a formula for that. So convert to the same unit as a scale bar label. So you have here from millimeters, you need to convert it to millimeters. So of course, you need to show your working in here and show the numerical value as well as your unit. So if there's no unit, it will be deducted in your points. And of course, if the numerical value is not correct, it will not be marked as correct also. Alright, so here's an example of how to solve it. So how to calculate is you need first to have your formula, your working, and of course the most important thing is you need to have your numerical value with units. So most of the people forget their units on their calculation, and definitely you will be marked wrong with that. So remember, put your units in here. Your units can be meters, seconds for time, for distance we have meters, and for force we have Newton. Those are just examples of those. Next is find a numerical answer showing the relevant stages of working. What is this again? This is definitely calculation or calculate. Okay, next is, look at this one. Give a specific name, value, or other brief answer without an explanation or calculation. So just straight to the point, specific name or value. So what is this one? It's just simply as state. So when you state, for example, which species is most distantly related to T. Perkinsi on the basis of the tree diagram. So all you need to do is to find here the one which is related with each other. So you don't need to actually think more about this one, because these questions are taken randomly from the book. So state here, the answer is T. laboriosa. So the T. laboriosa here is the specific name. So state, when we say state, you just need to tell us the exact answer. It's different from definition, because when you say definition, you're giving the meaning. But for state, you just give the exact answer. So definition, you give meaning. For state, you give what is being identified. So we have here state. And lastly, we have to give a brief account or summary. So what is this? This is just outline. So for example, this is the scenario. Australia has added fluoride to much of its drinking water since 1953. Other countries such as Chile do not add fluoride to their drinking water. So the question here in the exam or in the test is that outline the arguments for and against the addition of fluoride to public drinking water. So you don't need to explain in so much paragraph in here. So what you're going to do is just to outline. You can put it in bulletproof or you can enumerate it. So if it asks you to put it in order, so you need to put the outline in correct order. However, if it doesn't ask you to put it in order, you can put it randomly, but make sure that the thought is organized. So you can just read here, you can pause the video right now and just read how it's being done in here. This one is for, it's a pro, that means you side with the addition of fluoride, and this one is against, that means addition of fluoride is not good. So you can make it in a complete sentence or you can put it in a phrase. As long as you hit the point, you will get the mark. Alright, so next is you need to give an account of similarities and differences between two or more items, referring to both all of them throughout. So the key word here is similarities and difference. And what is this? Good job. This is compare. So most of the mistakes of the people is that when they compare, they only give one category, and that is sometimes just the difference or sometimes just the similarity. But if it asks you in the test or the exam to compare, you need to give both the similarity and then the difference. For example, compare the trend in the ventilation rate with the trend in the tidal volume at high treadmill speed. So this one is just a graph. So again, I just took it randomly from the internet and from the biology book. So you need to compare those two. So the answer here is ventilation rate continues to increase where tidal volume approaches a plateau. So the difference here is that how they look like in the graph, and the similarity here is that they continue to increase. However, the increase tends to be different when it comes to the rate of the ventilation and the trend in the tidal volume. So you need to tell us the similarity and difference. So for example, the question ask here for 2 marks and you only give the similarity. Usually we give 1 mark only for that. So you need to hit the 2 categories here, similarities and differences, for comparing. So one example also here is what you can see here at the bottom. Compare the rod and the cone cells. These are cells which are found at the back of the retina of our eyes. So these are, you can just read it in here. Okay, so this is a little bit technical, but just try to understand these words at the front here. So these are the characteristics of the rods, and these are the characteristics of the cone cells, and it will tell you the difference and the similarities of both cells. So for example, if I want you to compare chlorophyll from chloroplast, so you would tell that the differences is that chlorophyll is the pigment, and then just make the details of why it's a pigment, what does it do, and chloroplast is an organelle or a part of the cell. So what is the similarity for the both? They are both functioning for photosynthesis. They convert the sunlight into a chemical energy, just like that one. Okay, so you need also to take note of how many marks are given here. So for example, it asks you for 5 marks, you need to give 5 points for the similarities and the difference. But if you only give, like for example, it asks you to the question is worth 5 marks and you only give the 2 similarities and differences, so definitely in Cambridge they will only be giving you 2 marks for that. So if it take note of how many marks are there in the question, is the worth of the question, and you need to give also the same amount of similarities and differences for you to compare. Alright, so let's proceed to the last one. Give a detailed account of causes, reasons, or mechanisms. So the word here is detailed account. That means you need to give the much further knowledge about a certain cause, a certain reason, or a certain mechanism, and this is explanation. So usually what people do during explanation is they just give the definition, just a very short definition. No, it's not. So when you give explanation, when it asks you to explain, you need to give the detailed or in-depth or a deeper or further discussion about a certain kind of scenario. So, for example, we have explained two examples of evolution due to environmental change. So, the answer here is that populations tend to produce more offspring than the environment can support. Variation exists within population. So usually the wrong, we mark you wrong here if you just define what is evolution and you just define what is environmental change. So you need to give the relationship between evolution and environmental change, and you tell us why environmental change happens because of evolution. So you need to have here the cause and effect when you discuss on explanation. So again, take note on the number of marks available, and that's also the number of key points that you need to answer or you need to attack with the question. Again, in answering with the Cambridge, if it asks you, if the question is worth 5 marks, you need to give 5 key points for that. If it asks you for, if the question is worth 2 marks, then it's shorter than the 5 marks, then you need only to give 2 key points for that. So it's up for you if you want to make it longer, but it's only worth 2 marks, so give only us 2 points for that so that we can give you 2 full marks. And again, remember the command word which is being given to you. Alright? So, and lastly, we still have one last for this one. Propose a hypothesis. So when you propose a hypothesis, what you're doing here is you are suggesting. So this is more of your own opinion. So, for example, when you look at the graph in here, and again, this graph is very technical and just get it randomly from the internet and from the book. So suggest one reason in each case for the change in the quantity of fish captured in Atlantic and Indian Ocean from 1980 to 1990. So this one is the suggestion. It's your own opinion, but again, even though it's an own opinion, but it needs to be related to the graph. So for example, in Atlantic, quotas decreased. So because the trend here of the graph decreased in Atlantic, but that one in Indian Ocean, the quotas are increasing because when you look here in the graph, it is increasing. So even though it is an opinionated answer, the answer is just your wild guess. But again, it needs to be supported by a data. It needs to be supported by a fact. It needs to be supported by a knowledge. And if it asks you from this, a graph, it needs to be supported by the graph, or it needs to be explained by the graph. So we have suggestion or suggest. Alright, so let's test your little knowledge about how much you learn on command words. Are you ready? So let's take a look with question number 1. Representation by means of pencil lines. Very good. This one is draw. Next question. You need to propose a hypothesis or other possible answer. Very good. We call this suggest. How about number 3? Give a detailed account of causes, reasons, or mechanism. And again, this is a detailed account. Great job. This one is explain. And the 4th one, give a detailed account of similarities and difference. So we have, good job, we have compare. And the last, you still have 4 more choices up there. So find a numerical answer. This is, okay, calculate. So you need to solve something and you need to have your workings. So any questions so far? So if you have any question, just let me know. You can message me directly on our ADL account. Just log in there in the message. Or you can also write something in the comment section. I'm going to get back to you as soon as possible. So hope that these command words are clear for you, and we are going to use this as we go along with our worksheets and with our tests and with our exams. Alright, so that's all for today. See you again in our next meeting. Have a great day. Goodbye, everyone.